I must thank you for giving me the tears today. It was so moving to hear your stories. And so that's why I'm also going to tell you, I'm going to start completely different than I planned. I want to tell you about a moment when tears actually change. Globetree was invited to come to the United Nations in Nairobi, to UNEP's Governing Council meeting, to have an opening ceremony. And I said, that would be lovely to do that, but then you should have on stage, not people like me, but you should have children from the streets, from the slums, suffering from AIDS, who are having disabled children, and the very rich children who are locked up in their castles and wave up their windows when they pass children in the streets. So I would like to have children with different life experiences being on a stage. And I need about 300 of them so that there is some power. And the UNEP said, okay, you can have that, and we worked. And here comes all the ministers of the world and ambassadors, and the whole hall was filled. And I was outside with the kids, we had rehearsed, and then I said, now you have your chance of your lifetime now. Take it. And they were all like, yeah. And they moved in, and I have seen so many children doing performances, and since I'm an actress, I'm working a lot with children. Some say, are they coming in right? Is this one coming in? Is that one doing right? You know, I'm sort of not really seeing the performances. But here I feel, suddenly, tears falling down my face. And I said, what's this? I never cry. And then I looked at the head of UNEP, Dr. Töpfer, and he was also in tears. And I looked around, and everyone was like taking their tears away. So I turned to Dr. Töpfer and I said, Dr. Töpfer, it's these tears that change the world. It's not your papers. And he was nodding. And then I whispered again and I said, you know what? You should care for this moment when the world is touched by the children who have something to tell. Yeah, and he nodded, and he nodded, and then he was silent, and then he said, come with a suggestion. So he handed over the whole idea to me, and I said, what shall I suggest now, when he has told me to do it? So I went around, we invited children to the UN. I said, what should we suggest? We have now this chance. And by the way, the children, the President Moy was there, and he was also so touched. So he came out to all these kids, 300-400 of them, and said, I invite you all for lunch. Imagine, and the street kids were invited for lunch to President Moy. They couldn't believe it. But anyway, we worked and we worked and we worked. What should we suggest? And it cannot cost anything at the United Nations. So finally we decided for a tree. A big, beautiful acacia tree. This tree shall be the meeting place where children and the world decision makers will meet and dialogue concerns for children. Which leads me over to this table, because here you have branches and twigs from that tree. And the idea was that here on stage should not be a 70-year-old lady, but it should be children from Dandora. And we had it all set, and Dandora is, they say it's the biggest dump site in the whole of Africa, is in Dandora. So we said, these children should stay here and tell their story. So we invited Daniel. He should also bring water. We always bring water when children come together, so he went to the river. He says this must be the most dirty river in the world. I don't believe that, but that's what he believes. So that's Daniel. And they took water. And here he went to the dump site, and then he met Mary, and Mary should also join. And there, in that dump site, I'm sure is the most dirty water there is on Earth, as all other dump sites have. And it's very profitable to dump chemicals and poison. Then the guys who runs the dump site gets a lot of money. So all of these chemicals, all of that, is now in that water that they wanted to bring. Anyway, the embassy said, yes, we will manage to get them the visa. I told Jörg, they are coming. Everyone was happy. The day after, somebody else said, no, they cannot get the visa. So they couldn't come. And then we said, okay, you send the water. So they went to DHL, and they had never heard of DHL, but I found out where and how and so and so. But they couldn't send water. So it was like, nothing works. Nothing works. So here we are with this bowl of water here. You see the water here? And this bowl of water has water from every country in the whole world. Children go to a place they care for. They take a cup of water and they unite the water in different programs that we have around the world. And even from space, astronauts brought from space to this water. And in this bowl, the children decided for this conference, they wanted to have their water in this bowl. And then they had one very, very simple question. And it says, what way? Choose. So that was possible to send, because that was not water. So that came in time. And it's painted on their house. So this is the metal that their houses are made of, and I'm sure many of you have been in that. And these children from Dandora and Mary, with her very simple message, can you give it? She has a 13-second message. She speaks Swahili, and she says, my dream is that I have water to drink that is clean, that I have water to cook that is clean, and that I have water to wash my clothes that is clean. That's a simple message. But we do invite children from Dandora to Sweden, and now they are asked to come again and again and again. So there are thousands and thousands of children in Sweden who learn from the children of Dandora. And these children, however bad it looks in their environment, and it's really horrible, I can hardly stay there. When I work there, I really have to put myself together. It's stinking, really, really bad. But we work there, and we do it, and imagine I cannot stand for a week or two, and they live there year after year. So the water runs into their houses, and it's a horrible story. They come to Sweden, and they tell about their life. And all these thousands of children in Sweden start to think and get the perspective of what they have and what they have lost. And they say, but how can you be so happy? How can you dance? How can you sing when you live in that environment? And they say, but it's so incredible that we are alive. Imagine we live, because that neighbor died, and then that one died, and that child died, and that mother died, and that father and that grandmother, but I'm still alive. And that touches the children of Sweden. So now they will come in September and October, and end of August up to 1st of September is the Stockholm Water Week. And I'm sure we shall meet again in Stockholm Water Week. Then you will meet the 7 of them, those who didn't get the visas, and they will share with you their stories. Like you did here today, you shared your stories that made me cry. And what I also want to tell you is that this place of meeting at the UN in Nairobi has inspired so many mayors to also have their tree where they meet their children. And many mayors said, we always met under a tree. Why have we stopped that? So now they take that tradition back again. And here's Wangari Maathai, and she was telling, she's a Nobel Prize laureate and head of the Green Belt movement. She came and talked about her mother speaking to her about roots, how important the roots are. And she gave her the love for trees, and she became a Nobel Prize laureate. This is so inspiring for the children to hear that, to get these stories, the inherited stories. And my dream, Globetree dream, is 3,000 years ago, the Olympics started, okay? With a very small group of people. And it's huge. And I would like to have the World Championship in cooperation. And all nations comes together, and all the people who are joining should get a gold medal. We did that at the Globe Arena in Stockholm. Children brought what they think is important for the future. And they build their landscapes. And they said this is important, and they build bridges between one another over the globe. And in that, doing that, we invited the mayors, we invited the business people, we invited university lecturers, we invited experts to come in at night after the children had built their landscapes. And the children left some notes behind saying, I want my water from Stockholm to reach over to Indonesia. So it was like a long stretch. And we have put papers. Can you please give us real water? The mayor of Stockholm came and he saw that note and he said, He called the fire brigade and he said, you are needed here now, come please. And some building construction people, and they made the construction with real water from Stockholm to Indonesia. And there were lots of birds lying on the floor, about 300-400 of them. And these kids wrote, we want our birds to fly. So they called somebody to come with a sky lift. They came high up in the globe, and then they understood, my God, now we understand why the kids needed this perspective from the birds. So the kids were teaching the mayors, the experts, all these adults who came, who were invited for the night building team. And I would like that to happen, that we bring in people from around the world and that it becomes as famous, as big, as important as running as quick as we can, jumping as high as we can, that we will be the best in the world in cooperation. I would like that to be included in the future of this seminar conference. Thank you very much.